Baseball, in many ways, feels like a mythical sport, rich with history, iconic figures, and unforgettable moments. In recent years, Major League Baseball has worked hard to recreate that magic by bringing the game to unique and meaningful settings. From cornfields to military bases, and even stadiums overseas, these jewel events are designed to be memorable, emotional, and help grow the game by taking it somewhere new. And so far, they've delivered. The Field of Dreams game was pure magic, the Fort Bragg game was powerful, and each international trip brings its own flair and flavor. Every time MLB tries to top itself with a bigger spectacle. So when they announced the Speedway Classic, a regular season game between the Cincinnati Reds and Atlanta Braves, it seemed like the next stage in that evolution. On paper, it sounded ambitious, even historic. MLB planned to break the all-time regular season attendance record by staging a game at Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee, a NASCAR track with seating for over 150,000 people. The idea was bold: bring baseball to a place it's never been, in a format that's never been tried. And it really sounded like it could be something special. But from the moment fans began arriving in Bristol, things didn't go as planned. Bristol is a small town with just 28,000 year-round residents. While it manages large NASCAR crowds a couple of weekends a year, it's always a logistical challenge, even when everything goes right. Additionally, many of these fans are local, meaning they don't need a place to stay. MLB's event brought in tens of thousands of fans from across the country, and the town just wasn't ready. Hotels were scarce, and the few in the area had been booked months in advance. Fans were left scrambling for a place to stay, with some resorting to camping or driving from hours away for a day trip. Then came game day itself. The fan experience, which was supposed to be one of the highlights of the event, was a logistical mess. Parking was a disaster. Fans reported being stuck in traffic for hours, only to be directed to a packed gravel lot with almost no signage. Once they made it inside the stadium, the issues continued. First off, the place just wasn't built for baseball. The stadium's massive oval layout meant most fans were ridiculously far from the action. Thousands of seats, especially in the upper levels, had awful sightlines, and some didn't even have a view of the field at all. Others had strange, obstructed angles that made it hard to follow the game, but honestly, given the nature of the venue, this was somewhat expected and not the end of the world. Unfortunately, it was only the beginning. The concession stands were overwhelmed well before first pitch. Tweets started rolling in fast, painting a bleak picture of the food situation. Bunless hot dogs, missing items, wraps that looked like they had a bite taken out of them, all at full stadium prices. Some fans even waited in line for hours, only to be told there was no food left. Making matters worse, the venue didn't allow outside food, so concessions were the only option. And it wasn't just the food. Entire merchandise booths were reportedly picked clean hours after the gates opened, and the few items that were available were ridiculously overpriced. It felt less like a once-in-a-lifetime event and more like a cash grab gone wrong. Then came the rain. Bristol in late summer is known for its unpredictable weather, and sure enough, just before game time, the skies opened up. The first rain delay came after both starting pitchers had already warmed up. It wasn't until hours later when the game finally resumed. And what followed was probably the most questionable decision of the night. MLB let the teams play 4 outs of baseball on a soaked, borderline unplayable field. There was literal standing water on the infield. Players were standing in puddles, water dripping off the brims of their caps like they just stepped out of a shower, and the slick turf looked like an ACL injury waiting to happen. Just take a look at this TJ Friedl swing.
They did a great job with this field.
And yet, somehow, the game pressed on for one bizarre partial inning. All this time, fans squeezed into the concourses for cover, creating a tight mob. Additionally, there was no cell service. Between the volume of people and the lack of coverage, fans couldn't call, text, or get updates. Not great when you're stuck in a stadium with no idea what's happening. The game ended up getting postponed and didn't resume until the next day. But by then, the damage had already been done. Most of the 91,000 fans who had bought tickets were long gone. Unlike the prior night, the crowd was sparse, and while the attendance record technically stood, the atmosphere didn't come close to matching it. Social media erupted, with fans dubbing the event MLB's Fyre Fest. And it didn't take long before the Speedway Classic became infamous, not for what it was supposed to be, but for what it turned into. To be fair, there were some bright spots. We got the long-awaited Tim McGraw and Pitbull collaboration, and MLB donated the playing field to East Tennessee State University, also holding a youth skills clinic for over 200 kids. The league genuinely tried to make it a community event, not just a game. But at the end of the day, the positives were overshadowed by everything that went wrong. The sheer scale of the event completely outpaced the planning. What MLB envisioned as a groundbreaking spectacle quickly became known for poor communication, bad weather, and a venue that, despite its size, just wasn't meant for baseball. And while the rain wasn't their fault, there was no real backup plan or infrastructure to handle it. The weather simply exposed the cracks, but it was far from the only issue. And that brings us to the weirdest part of it all. Bristol Motor Speedway actually knows how to handle big crowds. NASCAR weekends go smoothly. The problem wasn't the venue, it was the mismatch between MLB's expectations and what it takes to run an event of this size in a place like this. Baseball isn't NASCAR, and what works for one doesn't always work for the other. For example, unlike baseball, there's a big tailgating culture on race day, meaning fewer fans eat at the venue itself. In the end, the Speedway Classic made history, just not for the way anyone wanted, and became MLB's biggest flop in recent memory. It showed that baseball can go big, but also that going big comes with risk. The dream was there, but the execution, that's where it all fell apart.